Today's dish could really suit a vampire, the sexy kind of vampire. We are doing a classic French dish that is served in so many bistros and brasserie and now has taken over the world. The steak tartare, made with some delicious tenderloin, many acid garnishes, packed with flavors, and I'm gonna make it my way, so it's gonna be a little bit more fancy. But trust me, this recipe is absolutely delicious. As always, two things remain to be done: for us to get cooking and for you to subscribe. So let's go.
Alright, so I would say for any type of raw dish such as a crudo or tartare, I like to use a lean muscle. It's way tender and easy to chew, and in this case I'm using a tenderloin. I'm going to cut into strips, then into dice. I know some people like to put it through a mixer. I like mine to be cut with a knife. I think it's the way to do it. That's my personal opinion, but trust me, you should do it. Anyway, now we're gonna start working on the garnishes. And first we're gonna make some chips. So I'm going to take a potato and cut the end. Then I'm gonna use my mandolin and try to slice them as thin as possible. You should see daylight through your potatoes. Once you've sliced them all, you're going to put them together into little stacks. Don't stack them too high, so I'm going to do 2 stacks in this case. And once I've stacked them, I'm gonna take a small ring cutter. Obviously you can cut them to any size shape that you want. You can also fry them whole, it's really up to you. But I'm gonna use a small one because I'm going for like more of a fancy looking one, but don't worry, I'm not going to waste the other ones. I will absolutely eat them later. Please rest assured. Alright, then I'm gonna place them in some water to wash off some of the starch. And then once I've played with my water and my potatoes, I'm gonna place them on some absorbing paper. Try to remove as much moisture as possible because we are going to fry them in oil and we don't want them to splatter all over our eyes and hands. It could be very dangerous and we want to be safe, so please do that. Okay, so now I'm going to place them in my oil. As I mentioned, it's about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But it's always good to start with one and see if it pops and start frying so you know you've reached the right temperature if you don't have a thermometer. Then we're gonna place them all and you wanna keep shaking them so they don't stick to one another, and you're gonna cook them for about 45 seconds to a minute or until they become golden brown and crispy. You will then take them out of the oil, place them on some absorbing paper and season them right away. As you know, I've mentioned it so many times in the channel, so you can remove the excess fat. Make sure you try one, it's crispy, it's delicious, but we have to put them aside and keep them for later. Now we can start working on the other elements of the tartare and all the classic garnishes. We're gonna start with the shallots that I'm going to peel, then cut in half, and then I'm gonna remove the center, which I'll use for stock or jam or something, but I'm gonna only keep the top layers because it's much easier to dice. I want some perfect brunoise, as you can see. Once I've done my brunoise, I'm gonna set it aside and I'm gonna work on my next task, which is going to be cutting, dicing some gherkins, or as we call in my beautiful country, some cornichons. Same idea. The idea actually is to have all the garnishes the same size. So, I mean, you've seen how we dice the beef and we want everything else to be slightly smaller. So once I'm done with the gherkins, I'm gonna move on to my capers, which you're not going to really dice, but more so you're going to chop them. All right, like you could also use some caper berries if you're fancy, but I'm gonna go with like the little tiny ones because I feel like they just mix easier. I'm gonna set that aside and we're gonna work on the chives, one of my favorite herbs. When you cut chives, you want to make sure that you actually start from the smaller tip. I know some people use from the bottom, but think about the bottom being more of an onion and the top being more of a chive. So we want to keep the best part first. So if you have to throw a little piece because you cannot cut it anymore, it's better that you throw the bottom, and if you throw it, it's inside of a stalk. Okay, we don't throw anything. All right, once I'm done with my chives and I have plenty, I'm gonna set them aside, and I think we're able to start setting up our tartare. And this is all of our garnishes Oh, hi, this is Brady. He's a sick little puppy right now. Okay, back to the tartare. Let's assemble it. I took the meat, and now I'm gonna add all the garnishes, starting with the chives, then I'm gonna add my shallots, my gherkins, and my capers. This is really the base of the mix. Once we have these ingredients, we can then add the dressing. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of some bone marrow dressing that I had in my fridge, as well as some Dijon mustard for a nice kick, some pepper, some salt. And then after we can add one of my favorite ingredients, starting with the Worcestershire sauce. Yes, I think that's that. Anyway, the sauce, the English sauce. We're gonna put some of this, and then we're gonna add some Tabasco for a nice heat. You can add as little or as much as you wish, based on your preferences. And that goes for the tartare. You are the master of your dish. You can add more of anything or less of anything, and you plate it and you mix it exactly the way you want. That's the beauty about this dish. So I'm going to give it a try. Oh, that is just so good. All right, now that we have a mix, it's time to plate. I'm going for a very fancy plating, but you do not have to do that. You could just simply stop where I'm at, just put the tartare into a ring, serve it with some bread, some fries, an egg yolk if you wish. Honestly, it's going to be very, very good. But we're on a channel, we're here for something exceptional, something grand. So here we go. Once I've placed my tartare, I'm gonna add some delicious pickled shallots. And for all these recipes, you can also ask me in the comments and I can show you how to make it. Then I'm gonna add some cured egg yolk. I could definitely make a short if you want me to see that. And then I'm gonna have some baby jam for a bit of crisp, crunch, and color. And I'm gonna trust them with a bit of green oil that I made with parsley. Once I've added my leaves, I'm gonna go with the crispier textures. I'm gonna start by adding our little chips that we worked on earlier. And I'm gonna add some onion chips that I made by roasting an onion in its skin. Then I dehydrated it for about 2 days, and that will give us a beautiful caramelized onion chips. I can also show you how to do that. As always, please comment, let me know, and I will show you. Then I'm gonna add the herbs, some red sorrel for a nice earthiness, some borage, which is gonna give that cucumber taste almost. It's super fresh and nice. And finally, I'm gonna add some nasturtium, one of my favorite herb, but also it's got a peppery freshness, which is really going to round up our dish. And now you can just sit back, enjoy, relax, and try your dish. Why not?
And here we have it, a delicious steak tartare. Tell my way, there's so many recipes out there, but trust me, this one is excellent. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. The recipe will be shared in the description below. I'm about to try it, so if you allow me, I will, and I'll see you soon. It's just so good. Nothing else to say.